Disney and Marvel Studios' The Marvels is looking like it's going to be one of the most successful Marvel movies of all time. Or at least that's what Disney seems to think, given that the budget for this film is nearly $300 million. And don't even get me started on how much money Disney's going to have to spend on marketing just to get people to show up to this one. The Marvel Cinematic Universe has been on a collision course toward irrelevancy for some time now, with releases such as Ant-Man 3, Thor Love and Thunder, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, and others just not quite living up to the standard that the MCU set for itself in years past. And let's not get into the Disney Plus shows, most of which have crashed and burned in glorious form. Superhero films just don't draw audiences like they used to, and you could simply chalk it up to that, but that would be doing a disservice to all the hard work Disney has put into actively trying to destroy this once beloved franchise. Inexperienced writers and directors, identity politics out the wazoo, astronomically huge budgets, and the alienation of many of our beloved heroes of the past. Regardless of these points, this is where the MCU stands. Some of you may love what Marvel's been doing lately, and that's all well and good I suppose, but I think I speak for a large majority of the fanbase when I say the MCU has changed, and not for the better. One of Marvel's upcoming, not so much anticipated films is The Marvels, a pseudo-sequel to Captain Marvel which has been delayed 4 times, has been subject to reshoots, and features a cast of 3 characters who fans of the comics and MCU alike really aren't dying to see. You've got Kamala Khan, who was the main protagonist in Disney Plus's Ms. Marvel, which subsequently was the least watched Marvel show on Disney Plus. It may have been dethroned by Secret Invasion, but don't quote me on that. Monica Rambeau, a widely unknown character from the comics who appeared in Disney Plus's WandaVision, and Captain Marvel, played by Brie Larson, who is slowly turning into one of Hollywood's least favorite people. It's safe to assume that none of these characters are going to be a huge draw for fans, casual and comic fans alike. In other damning evidence that this film is heading in the wrong direction, the writing team is composed of mainly 4 individuals. Nia DaCosta, who has been credited for directing a whopping 2 films prior to her work on the Marvels. Megan McDonnell, who has 1 writing credit, WandaVision. Almost like she was hired for knowing the right people, but what do I know? Alyssa Karasik, who's got 2 writing credits, one of which being The Loki Show, surprise surprise. And lastly, we have Zeb Wells, an actual writer who has a number of writing credits, sadly, one of which is She-Hulk. And for the cherry on top, it's been confirmed that Disney spent over $270 million on this film. The only 3 Marvel films that cost over $250 million and surpassed this budget are Avengers Infinity War, Avengers Endgame, and Avengers Age of Ultron. The article coming from Forbes reads as follows, quote, Disney has revealed that it spent more than $270 million on making the Marvels, the latest installment in its Marvel Comics superhero saga, which will be released in theaters in November. They show that over the 2-year period from the incorporation of the company to September 30th, 2022, it spent $274.8 million and banked a $55 million subsidy from the government of the UK, where the movie was made. This brought its net spending down to $219 million, meaning that the movie will have to gross at least $439 million at the box office to break even, as studios get around half of theater takings, end quote. The article mentions the fact that the studios don't make every dollar off ticket sales, which I do appreciate, given that it's really easy to look at a budget, then look at box office and assume the film made money. However, it doesn't mention how much the studio is going to have to spend on marketing just to get people to show up, and this may be the hardest task of all. If Marvel was smart, they'd cut their losses and not spend a bunch of money on marketing, similar to what Warner Bros. Is doing currently with Aquaman 2. That being said, I don't think it would be a stretch to say that the Marvels will likely need to make $500 to $600 million just to turn a profit, and this just isn't going to happen. These sorts of films were put into development back when Marvel movies just couldn't fail. And with all the reshoots and delays, it's clear to see that Disney Marvel is worried about the outcome of this film. The director, Nia DaCosta, even stated recently that she's worried about the outcome of the film due to the fact that since the strike, she's unable to properly promote the movie with the help of the actresses in the film. She's right to be concerned, but she missed the mark on why. Marvel isn't as untouchable as it was just a few years ago. For example, Guardians of the Galaxy 3, The movie made $845 million. You might say, Cletus, that's a ton of money, and you'd be correct. It was also one of the only decent Marvel projects to come out in recent years. However, Guardians 2 made more. And even in the few years since Guardians 2 came out, ticket prices have gone up pretty significantly. My point is, this was the storybook ending to the Guardians franchise, a trusted franchise that fans love, and significantly less people turned up to see it than Guardians 2. My point is, it's not enough anymore to slap Marvel in big letters on the cover. These budgets need to go way down, expectations need to be way lower at the box office, and Disney needs to turn their focus back to quality if they expect any of this to turn around. Sadly, it likely won't. If you like this sort of content, consider subscribing and liking the video. If you love this sort of content, consider becoming a member. See you in the next one.